Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Confo's Storyburg. My name is Will Halim. I usually don't tell myself about my name, but we have a special guest right now. It's
special
Jeff Freedman.
Wow, how about that?
Yeah, exactly.
Special, thank you.
Yeah, because his office only like a couple of offices from here.
Right.
So.
Right. We're downtown at the Downtown Media Partnership.
Yep.
Yeah, we're right here. I'm looking out over the spirals of the PPG place, right next to the ice rink, and we're having a great time here in this office. We're on the 10th floor. It's a shared space with multimedia news agencies.
Yes, yes.
And so we're fortunate enough to be neighbors.
Right.
And that's how we met.
And it's been a long time for me to try to book him to talk, but
2 years.
Today is my lucky day.
Yeah, well, it's my lucky day as well.
All right.
So our lucky day, right?
That's right.
So thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, it is. It's this amazing space, amazing energy. And, Will's a big part of it when he decides to come in and do these stories. We've met a lot of great people. So I'm honored and privileged to be a part of this. So thank you.
All right. And just FYI, if you hear any weird noise, because we are having a construction for the NFL draft, right? Down
Market
there
Square.
For Market Square. Okay. So hopefully the AI will take care of this noise, but I'm sure if it's really loud that they can do it. Okay.
Yeah, so, there was big banging yesterday. We were like really worried.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, last week about it, but here they were digging stakes or something. So,
okay.
Yeah, it's going to be beautiful. We get a bird's eye view and it's slowly opening up. So come on down.
All righty.
There we go.
So here, Jeff Freedman, please. Okay, before he tells himself.
Okay.
Because I usually introduce my guests with where they live. And he lives in Arlington. So let me show people where Arlington is. So you can see on the screen. This is Arlington.
Right. We love Arlington.
And this is downtown. This is where we're at right now. And this is Arlington. So how long is your commute?
Actually, what's funny is that today Waze, it was 15 minutes today.
Oh, wow.
But it's all downhill.
It's
literally downhill. It is. People are like, why don't you just bike to work? You wouldn't even have to use any energy. And it's true, because I'm basically up at the top of the hill up at Arlington. And it's just a downhill slope all the way through. Yeah. Just Arlington Avenue all the way down to Carson Street and Smithfield Street Bridge. I'm here, but the lights, it's all on the lights, right?
And I remember when, because Storyburg used to be part of the Work Hard Pittsburgh. We shared offices over there. And I remember that there was actually a light rail, right?
There is a light rail.
Is it running right now?
No, well, actually, they just opened the tunnel. It was actually bypassing and going through our Allentown. All of them, all the buses, all that.
Yeah.
So if we ever wanted to take a bus into the city, you just hop into Allentown, which is, a mile from the house, and just take the bus all the way down. Yeah. If I would take light rail or a bus, then, but that.
So the light rail actually stops now.
But now it doesn't go through Allentown.
Okay.
But anyways, they fixed the tunnel now, so now Allentown's out of the picture, and it's just which is great, because when you're coming down Arlington, where the Liberty Tunnel is and McArdle and all that? Yeah. That used to get backed up.
Okay.
But now that's gone. So we're really happy about that.
Wonderful.
So we're here at work, right?
Yeah.
So, we're here.
Jeff.
Yay.
Please tell us about yourself.
All right. So, hi, my name is Jeff Freedman. I am the co-creator of QBurgh, QBurgh, which is the LGBTQ resource for Western PA. So that's my current title right now, kind of where we're at with that in my life. Native Pittsburgher.
Yay.
I grew up in the South Hills, Upper St. Clair. Don't hold that against me, because I wasn't in the great part of Upper St. Clair. We were kind of like the part with the starter homes and all the kids. And it's funny that we grew up in the bottom of the thing, right?
I think that this conversation warrants a map.
Okay, so we're going to show which is South Hills, right? You don't have to cross a river when you get there. So you're going to go south to Mount Lebanon. You can go down on 19. You can go a little bit over more. There's Dormont. Keep going south. We're going to go south on 19. There's Mount Lebanon, which... And South Hills Village. I grew up right near South Hills Village, right there, right near Faith Lutheran Church, Fort Couch Road, the whole bit.
And that's the St. Clair Country Club.
Well, that wasn't my neighborhood. My neighborhood was more towards the Mount Lebanon side. We had a ton of kids. It was a great neighborhood. We lived on a street at the bottom of the little hill, so it was we had to walk to school uphill.
Wow.
Both ways. But yeah, it was uphill. So I grew up in the 60s, back when there was prior to cable. So without cable, we had really bad TV reception, right? So we were the ones with antennas on the roof, and we barely got Channel 4. And then on Saturday mornings when you're watching cartoons and your mom would do the vacuum cleaner, ruin the TV, right? Mom, no!
I remember.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
So yeah. So yeah, it's kind of where I kind of grew up the first 14 years of my life. So kind of grew up there, St. Clair, the whole bit. And then during the energy crisis, which was 74, we moved to Monroeville. Our family moved to Monroeville. My dad had a job in Monroeville and was transferred there. He also had a business in the North Hills. So between South Hills, East Hill, or East area, and the North Hills, kind of grew up throughout the whole city. Like I could probably go all the back roads everywhere.
Wow.
And people are amazed. So I said, how do you know this road? It's like, because my dad would just travel the back roads. We wouldn't get on the freeway or anything. So it was amazing. So I'm a Pittsburgher through and through.
You are.
So yeah. And now currently living in, and I was at Westinghouse. I went and worked for Westinghouse for 15 years.
Okay.
And back in the day, Westinghouse was like the place to work, right? It was the number one private employer here. And Westinghouse was like a boomerang where it would take young professionals, which I was like 28. I just graduated college, went to night school the whole bit, graduated. Westinghouse would like do this boomerang where they would throw you out in the field, and then you would come back to Pittsburgh. And my office was going to be right down here in the west, this black building over here on Stanwyck Street, right near the Allegheny River, the Mon River up here was the headquarters for Westinghouse. And my office was going to be up there in that corner office. And I had a little picture of it, and I would have my future office on there. And I was going to be this big wig executive with Westinghouse. So luckily, when I graduated, they sent me to Minneapolis. I was there for 2 years. And then we have this great job for you. It's an incredible job. And
what did you do in
accounting? I was a finance person. Okay. So I was in accounting and finance, sorry. And so then they said, well, you can live in the largest city in that state. And I got worried because I thought I was moving to Wyoming, which I did not know the largest city in that state. They said Utah, Salt Lake. So I ended up in Utah. Long story short, they dumped me in Utah. So, so I never got my little corner office up here with Westinghouse, which is a shame. Wow. Which is fine. I mean, which is fine.
And they never transferred you?
They left. They dumped my. Can I say that? Yeah, of course. Word? Right, yeah. Oh, they got rid of us all. They came in one day and said that, oh, you're fine. Don't worry about these. You're not for sale. And then they sold us 2 weeks later. So yeah. So I ended up staying in Utah and then moved to LA for a bit and came back. But I've been really, really lucky that the whole time that I've also had this incredible corporate career. I've also had this side, I don't want to call it gay career or gay activist. Is that it? LGBTQ community, right?
What year was that?
So I started out basically, okay, let's go back. I feel like this is like an episode of the Golden Girls, all right, Sicily, right? Sicily, whatever they would say. So picture this, Pittsburgh, 1981, right? So there's not a lot of gay stuff going on here. We had the Renaissance Choir, which is now the Pittsburgh Pride Choir. But I don't sing. So joining that wasn't going to help. I was always really, really sports oriented. So grew up with a lot of kids. So it was all sports. So actually, I had heard that there was going to be a softball game that Toronto had just held. There was a gay softball World Series, believe that or not.
Wow.
Yeah.
In the 80s.
In the 80s. In 1981, that summer, Toronto hosted. A Pittsburgher went up and invited them to come down and say, hey, let's start a sports league here. Let's start a gay league here. So they came down. I was at the bar, got whiff of it. And of course, who doesn't, it was something fun. So my roommate and I went out to go visit. We got to meet these Canadians that came into play. And they were like, hey, we want to help you start your league here. So my friend Ron from Toronto and I are still friends, helped us start our gay league here. And that was my start with getting into gay politics.
Wow.
I wasn't really political, but it was political in the fact that it was gay. It was outdoors. It was in public. It wasn't comfortable behind closed doors. And we were out getting some fresh air and having a good time. Trying to rally or trying to get this league started was very, very interesting because back then there's no internet. We had three ways of communication, right? Television, telegraph, and telequeen. We always say, right?
What is
word of mouth?
Okay,
right, right, telequeen, right? So basically, our word of mouth started. We started the softball league back in 1981. We took the field in '82. Interesting fact about the Steel City Softball League, which is still there, by the way. Our umpires were police, city cops. We had city cops as umpires just for that safety factor. We played down on Gladstone
Field. Was that
Field.
by design or was it like
yes, on purpose?
Just happened?
Well,
okay.
We kind of knew some umpires that also did a side gig on umpiring, and we needed umpires.
Okay.
So it was a win-win for both, right?
Right.
It was a win-win for both. So yeah, we had city cops as our umpires, 3 of them. One of them, Andy Usner, went because of the softball league and the AIDS epidemic, opened up Brewers, which is a whole different story, and the AIDS epidemic that was happening. Because in the early 80s, there was this gay liberation that was happening. There was this whole sexual awakening of the gay community. There was this whole little come out wherever you are. And there was this big liberation that was happening at the time. And of course, then in 82 started happening, and then all of a sudden we heard about gay cancer, right? We talked about gay cancer. We had our friends around us were like dying. We didn't know why. And I mean, I hate to throw this really, really dark, but, we were having this encouraged fight to be who we are, be out there. And all of a sudden we were being pushed back into a closet, so to speak. We were being pushed back in.
Okay.
The stigma, everything that was happening. If you were in the same room with a gay person, you were going to get AIDS.
Okay. All right. So let me ask you a question. So
yes.
Before that happened, before this, gay cancer, like all this story came out, how were you guys, treated in the public space before that? When you're playing baseball, when we were
playing baseball, you're in a baseball field away from people, right?
Okay.
So you're in a field outdoors. We weren't really afraid of being out there. I mean, of course,
were you already accepted, kind of, or did they just ignore you? It's not like enemy. It's not like it's not like, or the stigma was already there.
Well, I want to say that you had 2 types of stigma. You had the stigma coming out as being either, and it was just gay, G at the time, gay or lesbian. So there was the stigma of basically coming out. So this was an all gay league. So you were either gay or you were friendly, or an ally, so to speak, right? And that's how you joined the league, was to meet people like us, the same people. That's why that organization was so important. Is to meet people like me, right? A lot of friendships formed, a lot of relationships formed.
Right.
That's when I first met my husband, was 40-some years ago.
And
amazing.
Remember, this is before internet, so everything's like telequeens.
Telequeen, right. So the gossip, right? But it was a good way to start friendships. It was a good way to start some camaraderie, and it was a good way to feel good about yourself. It was a good way, acceptance of yourself, because you have to get that acceptance of yourself first, right? There's this coming out process that you have to yourself and to others, and when you tell a family member, then 2 family members, and then you start telling your friends and stuff. So there's this whole coming out process. And when you reach it, especially coming out with the softball league, you're kind of at least feeling good about yourself, right? I will say that then people, around us were like, being hospitalized, we're talking, people in their 20s, in the prime of their life. I mean, just basically of just getting sick, right? And just the stigma and everything that was attributed to all that was absolutely horrid. I know, like, my best friend passed in 1988, passed away. And when I went to visit him in the hospital, I mean, it was like a moon unit. It was like he had traveled to the moon. Like, he was laying there and there was this big tent around and there was just this equipment all around. And they would go in with like moon suits.
Just like the COVID chamber.
Right. Well, yes, exactly. But like, they were moon suits and they were touching him with these like gloves and all that. And I just remember like bursting in and going, this is a human being in here. Where's your human touch? Where's your empathy? Where's your, So, I mean, it was just amazing. Just incredible, horrible, awful time. Like they say, it was the best of times, it was the worst of times. It was the best of times, and the fact is that, at least the gay movement was like moving forward. It was getting a lot more acceptance. But then on the other hand, you had the AIDS thing where you're going to hell. If you come out, you'll get AIDS, you'll die. I mean, because there wasn't a cure then. There just wasn't a cure.
Right.
So, I mean, it was interesting because I was always afraid as a gay man with my coworkers and stuff. Like, what are they thinking about me? Well, what do they think? Because I kind of came out early. Like, I didn't. I'm okay if I shut my mouth, but once the hands and the mouth start going, it's game over, right? So I always wondered what they always felt about me and stuff, but we didn't talk about it.
Okay. So how old were you when you came out? First to your family, or I mean, what is the order here? Family first or friends first?
No, your friends first, right?
Course, yeah.
Yeah. So I came out in high school. It was an easy thing. Went to Gateway High in Monroeville. So you want to show up Monroeville?
Sure.
There you go. Okay. So like Monroeville is like your ultimate suburbia, right? It's right there where the turnpike is. It's Monroeville Mall. We had Miracle Mile. I had a job at the mall, so I was cool, right? So East Hills, there's Monroeville Mall right there. So great place to kind of grow up. Little bit different from Upper St. Clair, and the fact that I grew up Jewish. In Upper St. Clair, I was like the only Jewish kid or one of two Jewish kids in the whole school.
Oh, wow.
We always said that it was really, really easy to give directions to our house at Christmas time because we were the only ones without lights. So it was great, right? Right. So, but I kind of grew up isolated in that way, right? Not really fitting in. Go to Monroeville, where it's like Jew City. Like, there's like lots of Jews, lots of kids.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was very Jewish at the time. Okay. I went to Temple David.
Yeah.
There was, and this is 9th grade. I was brought up conservative. So there was only like 3 of us in our grade, in our religious school growing up. Went to Monroeville, and like there were 2 rooms of 30 at Temple David in my grade. I remember giving permission slips, not permission slips, but getting slips to like teachers not to schedule tests on high holiday days, which is something that was new to me, right? Like, totally new. So it was kind of fun. I won't say fun, but it was important to me to find, other Jews, other kind of like a home there.
Your people.
For
this aspect of it.
We always talk about people like me.
Yes.
Right? Same. We want to find people we can relate to and talk to and stuff. And I, growing up, had a whole different experience. My Jewish experience growing up was not the one that these kids had that were growing up and being, I never really talked about it. My big thing growing up and being Jewish was I was the Jew at the holiday party. Since 1st grade, my mom wrote a speech. I held a little menorah in one hand. I had a little yarmulke on and would say, hi, I'm Jewish and we celebrate Hanukkah. Hanukkah is the festival of lights. Every year at this time, Jews from around the world celebrate this glorious holiday. And I could memorize this speech and go on. But I did it for 5 years.
Wow.
Good old Eisenhower Elementary, right? So anyways, but yeah. Now I moved to Monroeville, and it's just a great, I don't say great, but just different experience. So I've always wondered, right, by growing up as this isolationist Jew in South Hills, right, and coming out or doing all this now in Monroeville, if being Jewish there somehow prepared me for coming out of being gay. Of being
very interesting insight. Yeah.
Isn't that just, yeah. I always wondered that, like how that prepared me.
Nothing is coincidence. I mean, I talk about that aspect, nothing is coincidence so many times in the podcast, but I think this is also not coincidence.
No, I mean, it was, and not being afraid to speak up about it either.
Yeah.
So that, Hanukkah is the festival of lights. Like I always go back to that, right? And at that moment, by saying to speak up, don't be afraid. That was one thing I think that my parents did teach was that don't be afraid of who you are, right? So Monroeville now, a little bit more progressive. I would say a little bit, it was just a lot more comfortable for me. I came out in high school. Turns out the group around us were all gay. We're talking about a time where Anita Bryant was out there. Anita Bryant was a horrible, horrible person. She was a former beauty queen who became the spokesperson for orange juice. She came out, she was very, very anti-gay. Yeah, all gays are going to hell. I wanted to be a teacher growing up. I wanted to be a teacher. However, she was helping, there was a proposition down in Dade County where they were banning teachers. They were going to get rid of, you were gay, you were going to lose your job. Wow. You couldn't be a teacher for that. It was also a time where Lieutenant Matlovich, who was he was a gay serviceman that got discharged from the Army because they found out he was gay and stuff. So there was a lot of fear going on at this time. But coming out was easy for me because I was surrounded by people who were like, oh, this is kind of interesting. Or what do you think about this? Next thing you know, we're at a gay bar in Shadyside. We didn't go to the gay prom. We went to, I forget the name of the bar now. That's so funny. But yeah, we went to a gay bar instead of that. Because you had fake IDs. Back then they were paper, right? Yeah. They were paper licenses. So we had kids at art school that were making us fake driver's licenses.
Art school.
That would pass. Right. Here, Art Institute of Pittsburgh.
Useful, okay.
Yeah. So it was great, right? So we didn't have any problem. And, the bar owners here, as long as you had an ID, they could care less, right? As long as you had something on you, because they did their little due diligence. So, yeah, a lot of good stories there. But that was kind of like my coming out process. Mm-hmm. So I was always comfortable with it, always comfortable in talking or in front of people, the whole bit. So when the softball league came around and it kind of gave this purpose, was like a lot of fun for me. I mean, to go around and try to build up the softball league.
And for the softball league, when you're not living at home anymore.
Oh, no. I'm like way past working for Westinghouse.
So I'm interested in hearing how you came out in your family, especially after your mother said, do not be afraid.
Oh, well, okay. Well, their first reaction was not that, right? I think that all of us I know that line exactly, right? So, yeah, mine was, I was DJing in Youngstown, Ohio, believe that. I was at college at Duquesne University, but I was DJing in Youngstown, Ohio because you could drink back then at 18, right? So I was on my way home and we were going through the Squirrel Hill Tunnel and I was telling my mom I didn't need any money. I got a job and, she was sending me, $20 or something. I got, well, where's your job? I said, long story short, coming through the Squirrel Hill Tunnel, I told her it was a gay bar. And she literally came through that tunnel and almost hit that hill on the other side going to Monroeville. So every time I go through the Squirrel Tunnel, I always think of my mom in that hill, right? Because she literally just missed that hill, driving right off the lane. So luckily we made it back to Monroeville. I mean, she was shocked. I mean, she was kind of, a little bit surprised, the whole bit. And then I told her, I said, don't tell Dad. And my dad was a caterer. My dad worked nights. My dad didn't get home until early, middle of the night. So the next thing I know that night, bang, the door comes open to the bedroom, tells me, don't you effing blame me. Don't you effing blame me. And just walks right back out of the room. So I said, oh, I guess mom told her. I told him, right? I said, I guess he told him. And then I went upstairs and we had a conversation about it, you know? And again, this is like 1978, 79.
And you were in high school?
I was in college.
You were in college?
I was in college. In college. So yeah, at Duquesne. Nice Catholic school.
Yeah.
For a Jew, right?
Yeah. But then, you know, it was astonishing for me. And then you came out and had conversation. That's beautiful.
Amazing, right? Yeah.
Usually it was just like cry or slam the door back or close the door and then it's like
right. Yeah. No, he didn't shut the door back. I thought that was kind of rude. He could have just shut the door. But no, but there was a conversation that had to be had, right?
Yeah.
So luckily, you know, they didn't really want to talk about it. They wanted to send me to therapy. And I told them that they were the ones that needed to go to therapy. Like I was completely fine. You know, they needed to go to therapy. You know, so it took them a while to adjust. I have a younger brother. Okay, he's 8 years younger. Big, I don't want to say big poof, but can we say that?
Sure.
So there was no surprise for him. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah. When he was growing up, he used to steal my sister's Barbies and redo them and like dress them all up. My sister had one of those little Barbie beauty sets thingies. Yeah. You could do the makeup and the hair and all that. And people would come over and said, oh, my sister Dee, you did such a cute job on this head and the makeup and all that. And it was like my younger brother, Brett did it. So people would line up for my brother for Halloween to get their makeup done. I mean, he was just artistic. He was very, it was no surprise.
Yeah.
So I think for them, it was a little bit of a shock. I actually got to interview my parents on a talk show that I had in Utah and was talking. And they said, yeah, for you, it was a little bit of a shock. I mean, I was athletic, but for my brother, it was easy. It was an easy sell. Easy fix. But anyways, so they finally did come along. They've been great supporters. My dad, I think, said it best when he said about, at the time, you only care about those things that like enter your circle, right? I never had to talk about it because the conversation never entered my circle. So the second that you came out and you came in, the circle came to me, I had to have an opinion about it. I had to think about it. And it wasn't until him processing it and realizing the fact that I was still the same person, this and that,
beautiful.
That he processed it as being okay.
Yeah.
And stuff. And
so how long did it take him to process?
I'd say a couple of years, a year or so, But I was away. I was away at college. I got my job at Westinghouse because I drank my way out of college, which we'll talk, that's a different story. So anyways, because you're being gay, you're being free. There's this freedom that comes with it. But anyways, long story short is that they were wonderful supporters of ours. They would, my dad would come to Pride. My mom passed while I was away, but my dad would come to Pride every year. And he was just a real big, he didn't matter to him. Didn't
wonderful.
Matter. My sister, on the other hand, the middle sister was afraid to bring home dates. So she was like all afraid of bringing home dates. It was interesting. That my brother and I would kind of take her date away.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like she had competition between us.
Okay.
It was interesting when she was getting married. This guy was really serious, and they were going to get married. She said, "Oh, I have something to tell you," and it's really, really,
so
really
your
important.
sister is heterosexual.
The middle. She's heterosexual.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just afraid of bringing home because you're going to interrogate them.
Right. My sister, right. We're afraid we're going to steal her dates, right?
Oh, steal. I thought like integrate as a brothers because usually it's common, right? Because the brothers are going to.
No, she was afraid we were going to steal her dates.
Okay.
So that was cute. And then, but she said, I have something to tell you, and he's like, oh. And she says, I need to tell you that both my brothers are gay. And he was like, duh. Right? She goes, I thought it was going to be something serious. Like you have cancer or you're dying or you have 3 months to live, right? He goes, I'm not worried about it. And it was interesting because she was like saying, well, there's a chance that our kids might be gay, genetically. Because there's got to be a reason why people are gay, right?
Right.
There's got to be something somewhere that this is happening. And it's completely natural. I mean, I don't think you become gay or you're trained to be gay or any of that. It's who you are. And but no, he was fine with it. They got married, and unfortunately, they didn't have kids to find out. But Yeah, but so that I thought that part was very, very interesting. That she had something seriously to tell him, and his reaction was like, "Duh," right? Like I knew this.
So moving forward back to this AIDS epidemic, right?
Okay,
so
let's go back.
Start. And then, so what did you notice the change of public's perception? You know, what's happening, right? Because you mentioned about the story before,
right?
And then you mentioned about, you know, people like pushed back to the closet, you know, because of the AIDS epidemic. So what's going on? Is it you're still in Pittsburgh at that time, or is it somewhere else?
This is the 80s. Yeah, this is the 80s. Still in Pittsburgh. I left in 89 actually for Minneapolis. But there was this whole thing about safe sex, right? And using condoms, which is a very, very interesting story, because they were talking about, you know, AIDS was caused by a exchange of bodily fluid. That was the big message that was out there in the bars. And I remember when they first introduced condoms for sexual behavior, right? Then for us as the gay community, we didn't really embrace that right away, because condoms were for straight people. And condoms were not having kids.
Yeah, just for the reproduction.
Right. So the fact that now they're introducing or trying to sell us on this whole that condoms are preventing, you know, even STDs was something that, you know, but condoms were for straight people. So there was a big hurdle that needed to cross for that acceptance, which is great that they did do it, but it was a hard sell to the gay community at the time. Because it just was not welcome. Like, we're trying to get away from the straight world, and now all of a sudden you're telling us we have to do this, right? And it made perfect sense if you think about it, and it does.
Right now, but then, of course, like anything new would disrupt the, you know, whatever.
Well, it's just, I want to say it was a heteronorm thing to do, and we're trying to get away from all that, right? You know, we're gay, you know, we have this freedom and stuff. So I think there was a big push. I think that probably by 88, 89, it was sticking in. You found condoms all throughout the bars. They were like gumdrops, right? They were just everywhere. I always hated them because they had an expiration date on them.
Which doesn't make sense.
But the expiration date was like 2 years, and you're like, the pressure of having to use this.
I never noticed that there's expiration date.
Yeah,
I guess I should check.
But it was like, you know, Freedman, you know, you better use this in 2 years. Like, the pressure.
TikTok.
Right. Like, don't put that on me. But no, it was cute because even when I went to Duquesne, you know, I just tapped my thing. But anyways, so, you know, my one straight roommate that I had, the one that I was supposed to be living there, you know, in his wallet, you know, he pulled out his wallet and there was the ring, right? Because you carried your safe. Do you have your safe? Is your safe there? Don't forget your safe. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. Right? Like, I don't know what that means. So anyways, it was really cute. Yeah. But he made a big deal out of his safe, and he was all proud of his little condom indentation in his wallet. I mean, we're 18, right? What do you expect? But anyways, I'm glad that the gay community has done that. It's gone past it, you know, and then the whole thing of dental dams were being introduced for the lesbian community as well, to kind of help them with the safe sex as well.
Right.
And that was an important thing. I think that the stigma of AIDS, you know, was always there. It will always be there. It's still there, right? It's still there. HIV stigma is still there. Trying to combat it. I will say that the game changer in the whole AIDS epidemic was the protease inhibitors. Once they were introduced and all that, that all of a sudden AIDS wasn't a death sentence. It was just a lifelong illness, which was a game changer in the community. Because you had people that were really, especially you had organizations that were called the moral majority that were out there spilling that if you came out, you'll get AIDS, you'll go to hell, you know, the whole bit. And it was really, it was hard on the community to kind of fight that, especially if you're fighting your own, you know, sexuality and whatever sexuality you were, whether you were gay, bisexual, pansexual. But we didn't really have, I mean, these are all new terms, the pansexual, asexual, demisexual, like, you know, you know.
And I think I remember the the perception, or when you said that it's like a death sentence, I think for me in my circle that time, and
your circle, you talked about your circle, right?
About when Magic Johnson came out,
right?
I think,
right.
Before then, I remember. The other celebrity that I heard was I forgot. There's a movie star. It's my mother.
Rock Hudson,
right?
Everybody was surprised. Big one.
That was a big one. It was like, what? Him? Such a good-looking stud, right?
Right.
With Elizabeth Taylor. So like, what? Right?
Right.
But then the second major one was like Magic Johnson, and Magic Johnson's like, he's okay.
He's straight, right?
Yeah, and then he's doing, whatever.
He's still around.
Yeah,
he's still around, right? But I mean, and everybody, people were suing him that had sex with him in the past about, the possibility of he was doing it, which we get. But yeah, it just, I don't want to say that the stigma still there. Unfortunately, the stigma is still there. Luckily, with everything they have right now with AIDS research and all that, it's getting a lot closer, hopefully, to a cure. Cross our fingers that it happens soon. But yeah, it's just into a manageable disease right now, which is wonderful.
I think is similar probably for some of the cancers. They put it in.
Correct.
It's like, okay, it's manageable, right? It's not growing bigger.
Right.
It's just like manageable, right?
Right.
So, all right. So you talking about terms, right? So I'm curious now about this expansion, I say, right? From just gay and lesbians, and then we add more alphabets to the definitions.
I know, right?
So I like to know from your perspective as a gay person about all this name convention and things that you have to remember or have to be aware of, and as well as the pronouns, for example.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, hi, I'm he, him. I don't call me whatever you want. I'm not gonna, I've got friends that call me she and her. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not offended by it at all. And I also feel like I have friends of mine that hate labels, that don't feel you have to label me. Why are you labeling me? Right? That's a big thing with labels. I'm me, right? Mm-hmm. But then you also have part of the population who are you? And you need to label things to understand something. We need to label. I'm a labeler. I'm sorry. I kind of want to know where I'm at with this, right? So I'm not bad. Would you consider yourself a labeler?
I think it's easier, right?
Because you're defining something.
You know what is and what is not, right? So I mean, otherwise you have to remember.
We want to know.
I'm not that smart, so I have to know where things are.
Right, right. Well, for us, I think it's easier because again, we're not that Gen Z, we're not that young generation here that, okay, I'm just me, right? Well, what are you? Me. Like, no, I want to know, I don't want to offend you. That's another thing, is trying to not be offensive, right? And I think that the world has come to, as long as you try, as long as you're making an attempt, and if something does happen, apologize and say, I'm sorry, and say, how can I say that better? Because I'm always learning, right? Always learning. I'm always learning about new terms, new this. When the whole thing of pansexual came out, right? I thought it was a cooking class, right? Like people that were into cooking or something, right? But at the same time, it's like, I get it. People are attracted to people, regardless of who they are. That's pansexual, right? Easy term, easy to understand, right? Mm-hmm. So I get that. The asexual, I get. The whole, demisexual is where you basically have to have you basically have to go on a date or get to know somebody mentally before you can start having a relationship with someone, which I find is very, I wish I would have known that 20 years ago or 40 years ago probably, because, it makes it makes sense to me. It makes total sense to me, right? And I get it. I get a lot of these terms. I get a lot of this stuff. And it's always interesting to learn. And especially, being that now I'm doing QBurgh and all that, it's especially important to know this on how we can direct our audience. The last thing I want to be is offensive to anybody, right? And we want to be inclusive, and we want to be, and hopefully we represent everybody out there. But we're going to make mistakes. It's just how we were raised. It's who we were. I mean, I have gone through a lot of norms that I was growing up with that are shattered in my lifetime. And I'm sure that my grandparents have had a lot of stuff that were shattered. But it's part of evolution. It's part of who we are. It's part of the community. It's part of who we grow as, right?
So at what point that we started having all this numerous labels? Is it because of the internet, or what caused it?
Yeah. I just think that people wanted to this is who I don't really fit this, so I'm going to create a new term of something that will make me fit, right? I think that's probably what because it comes back to labels, right? We want to label something.
And also going back to circle, right? Like you want to belong in the circle, and it's like that's not the circle I want. I know that's not the circle I want. Why we want to find the circle that 100% is you. Right.
Like this is where I fit. And also the fact that I think that and when are we going to run out of letters? That's another concern that I have right now is when are we going to run out of letters? And when is this going to be such a big deal that we need to have letters, right? But you need letters because we want labels. We want to put we want to label things. But I do wonder when we're going to run out of letters.
Okay.
And when we're
going to it's okay. Asking, from me, if you can educate me, what does the plus mean?
Everything else.
Okay, so that's the other letter.
It's inclusive. It's like at all, right? Okay. It's like at all, right?
Yeah. Is it like finally someone decided, okay, let's just put at. We don't want to think about any more letters.
Right. Yeah, we're just going to go, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Right. And that's what I think it means. It could mean the HIV community. You see plus. Could be the HIV positive community with the plus.
Right.
But I think it's just plus. It's like like we use LGBTQ because we think that's, and plus, just to kind of just keep it right there.
Yeah.
But and sometimes, and in my opinion, I think it's wonderful that people want to add all these letters and use all this, but it's confusing. It's confusing.
Even for you.
For me.
And then you are the publisher and the editor of QBurgh. And you have to pay attention to all this thing.
Right. Mr. Gay, King Gay or something like that. You need to be a little bit, but we want to be respectful as well.
Yeah.
We have to be respectful. Yeah. I think that's where our key is.
Yeah. And then you mentioned about all this normative, and then which makes things complicated when you make it like this is a heteronormative or not.
Right.
And then now I heard lately about the poly one. Right?
Oh,
the polynormative, right? There's a heteronormative, there's a polynormative. And that makes it more complicated, right?
Right.
Say that if you're gay, like, okay, you have multiple partners or just one partner, and that goes with everything. It seems that you have this alphabets and then you quadratic.
Right.
You multiply it to the...
Right. And the whole polyamorous thing, I love my husband and one is enough. Would you not agree?
Yeah.
Would you want to be polyamorous? Do you see that? Would that be something?
This is probably about the circle, right? People looking for the circle. If the circle is not 100% inclusive about you, then I guess I could see that why people want to see probably this one, probably so. Just like, as a photographer, sometimes you pick your brand, right? You pick, okay, I'm a Nikon guy. But then I could see that there are certain things that only Canon can do.
Oh, there you go.
Right? So so for this certain shots, because I need to use Canon, right? So somebody will yell at me for saying that. But now I'm not even using Canon or Nikon. Now I'm using Fuji, right?
All right. So which one's your wife? Which one?
Practical, right? So
what are you looking at?
Looking at the practicality. Right? So you have to look at the functionality, I guess. Okay, we're talking about camera here, right?
We're talking cameras. Are we talking about partners?
Talking about camera now.
Okay, all right.
Just like the analogy, right? So
all right. Well, but no, it's important because I don't know. One is for me. I'm good with it. Had I been another generation earlier, who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? I never thought about it. It never entered my circle.
Yeah.
I never entered my circle. So I don't know what that would be like to be
because that was the perception back in the days, right? If you're gay, if you're lesbian, then you have multiple partners.
Right.
You're not in it for a relationship. You're not in it for lifetime. You're in it just for having fun or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or I just could not remember the name Power Exchange in San Francisco. right? So there's the magnet for all this activity.
But I will tell you this, that having lived in Utah for 10 years, talking about
Utah.
talking about, the LDS, we'll just say LDS, right? And the polyamorous, marriages and stuff like that. Again, I'm probably indoctrinated a little bit, having lived there for so long, but it's not about sex, right? It's about family. And it's interesting that I am saying this, but when you look at these relationships that happen in these communities of polyamorous, with multiple wives and all that stuff, each wife has a job, each wife has a responsibility, each wife is there, and the husband's there, to provide and keep this unit together. Is it something that I think that I would want someone to be in? No, absolutely not. But there are people out there that are in these that are completely happy and feel like this is completely normal to them. Again, it's their circle, right? It's part of their life. Now, there are people that get forced into it. It's a horrible, awful, terrible thing that this happens to, that needs to stop. And that's where a lot of the anger and all that comes from. But I've seen it. I've been there, that a lot of these relationships are consensual.
Exactly. I think that's the key word, right? It has to be consensual.
Correct.
Right.
And I'm not saying that that's the next step in marriage evolution, is to say that we want to be married to multiple people, but that is the next step, people. That's what's going to happen next. So, and it's not going to be to marry your dog or your cat or any of that stuff, but I think that people can have a remote emotional relationship with more than just one person.
Yeah. Probably you can blame AI for that. I don't know.
You think so? I don't think you can marry. Well, maybe you can marry an AI. Didn't that just happen? Right?
Some people do. I mean, I saw in the news, probably, I'm pretty sure it's from Japan.
Right.
It's easier to spec your partner from an AI.
That's ridiculous.
Right?
Well, as far as I'm concerned. But no. But would you go to AI?
No.
Let's talk about AI,
of course
right?
Not. Yeah.
And how that's, would you have would you talk to an AI person, or have you? Like I wouldn't even know how to do it. So
as in a relationship, no. But I would ask AI about what's going on in something, so it can summarize me. Or I would ask AI about, if somebody has a social communication disorder, what kind of things that I can do? Right?
Oh, okay. So you're using it for information.
For information, just like.
But you're not asking it to say, "Oh, AI, I'm not feeling well today," and "Oh, Will, what's wrong today?" And then you tell her.
No,
you're not using it as a therapy session.
No, I have my own therapist.
Okay.
All right. So let's go back to the LGBTQIA population in Pittsburgh. Okay.
All right.
So how big is it?
They want to estimate it 10%. I think that's a bit much. But at the same time, it's interesting when we talk about community, right? So if you want to think of the whole gay community coming out at Pride Day, right? So we're looking at hundreds of thousands of people, right? That are coming out and celebrating on Pride Day, which, by the way, Pride Day is like my favorite holiday of the whole year. Love Pride Day. I think that's an important empowering step for people to come to Pride Day. And again, people like me. I want to be with people like me. But I'd say, there's a big community. We never had a gayborhood here. So a gayborhood would be like a neighborhood
like
where all the gays go.
Francisco.
Correct. Right. Something that would be there. West Hollywood. We never really had a place. Shady Side kind of started like in the 80s. And then the north side with the Mexican War Streets.
Yeah, there was an Ellsworth for some time, like several years ago, right? They painted the street, and they got all the flags.
Right. And they would hold Pride Day on Ellsworth Street right there. Because there was a couple gay bars right there. There was just a lot of activity in Shady Side at the time, and this is the early 80s. And then the Mexican War Streets. I mean, you could buy a house for like $3,000, and then you would fix it up, and the gays fixed it up. And again, when the gays go into a neighborhood, property values go up, right? So now all of a sudden but we never really had a focal gay point. We've also lacked an active gay community or gay community center. We never had a spot where everyone can kind of come in. A lot of cities will have like an auditorium and classrooms and
I was thinking
offices.
About Blue Moon Bar.
The Blue Moon Bar. We've had a lot of bars.
All right.
We've had a lot of bars, but we've never really had a center of anything for our community. So we're spread out. We're spread out throughout the suburbs. We're spread out throughout the city. There's not really a big focal point to say gay community. I'd like to think that QBurgh, we're offering that a little bit by having people come to us so we can get people out to where they need to be.
Yeah.
So I kind of think we're kind of a center of the community right now, which is important. But yeah, I think there's a lot more out there than people than right? There was a big thing with National Coming Out Day. Would come out. It's important for everyone to come out. If everybody came out, but people aren't ready to come out. People come out on their own terms, right? And it's okay. It's okay. I mean, when you're ready, you're ready. I feel bad for people that get outed. That's a horrible experience to kind of go through that. But anyway, no, I think there's a very, very large community. So in Pittsburgh, it's just we're not all that out visible and location wise. But at Pride, look at the participation in Pride.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Look at what happens at Pride. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of people that come into the city for this.
Yeah, 2 years ago, I went there. I don't know what happened. Probably I was away this year. But yeah, 2 years ago, I went and it was crowded. It was packed completely. The bridge, I don't know which bridge, it was packed. I could see it because I was right there at the corner. And then on the Liberty Avenue, it was packed. All the way to the bridge was packed. It's like crazy. It's
Andy Warhol Bridge, by the way. Of course. Right?
Yeah. Of course. Where else?
Yeah.
Because there was construction. I mean, we don't know which bridge.
Yeah, that's true. But no, it's an incredible event. So, I mean, I encourage everyone to come out for Pride Day. Look at Pride Day. It's always the first weekend in June. It's been historically that whole weekend. Look for that.
Right. So what's your role in that parade? I know that last year you were the Grand Marshal.
I was the Grand Marshal last year. Woohoo! Yay! Well, be on the committee for 20 years and you'll be Grand Marshal too. Right? Hopefully. But yeah, so 20 years ago when I had done Pride before in Utah, Pride Day there, came back to Pittsburgh, and then in 2005 I was the chair of Pride. Took over the chair of Pride. It was over at the park next to the two stadiums. We literally set up and took down that morning and that evening. If there was a Pirate game, we had to be out of there by 5 o'clock. It was horrible. But that happened in 2005, 2006, and 2007. We moved it downtown. And then I stopped being chair because it grew too much. It was just too much. But I've always been on the committee, done the parade now for, I'd say, I don't know, dozen years now. The co-chair of the parade was chair of the parade, now co-chair with Jim Shepard, my co-creator of QBurgh. The two of us, we've got a great committee this year. If you want to come out and volunteer for the parade, guest gig in the world, because everybody comes in happy and they're all like, yay, happy Pride. And then you wave as they all leave and you're done. It's a great gig. So come and volunteer for the parade. Great, right? But we go to our booth. We go to the thing at Pride. So both Jim and I are now co-chair of the parade. Love the parade. Very, very important for our community. Get out there. It's been well embraced. It's now, I believe, the second largest parade in Pittsburgh. No one's going to beat the Irish parade. No one's going to beat that. So, well, but it's a wonderful expression. It's a wonderful thing. Still involved with Pride. This year, however, we've reorganized Pride, and I'm now treasurer of Pride, which I'd say that publicly now, but we need to give Pride back to the community and more community involvement. And that's what we're doing this year, which we're rebuilding Pride and reaching out to organizations to help with Pride. Pride's always been a one organization function, and it shouldn't be. It should be a community event. So, yeah, we're hoping to do that this year. So, PittsburghPride.com.
So is it like which month usually? The Pride Parade?
Pride Parade, it's going to be on a Sunday. It's on a Sunday now this year.
Sunday?
June, I don't know the date. Isn't that funny that I don't know the date of this?
Sunday,
first Sunday in June is when it is.
All right. And you mentioned about the QBurgh is also part of this media.
Oh, let's go full circle back to the media.
Yeah.
Right?
And recent news, and I have to mention it, that the closure of City Paper.
Oh, we missed the City Paper. Yeah.
They're upstairs, but they were upstairs. They were upstairs.
So for 2 weeks, they're upstairs.
Okay, and you are also the chair of the
co-chair of the Pittsburgh Media Partnership.
Okay, so what do you say about the city paper situation?
I think it's a shame. I think it's left a huge void in our community. The alt weeklies were so important. City paper was such an important voice in our community that losing that voice is going to be very, very painful. I know that there are interested people, hopefully, maybe doing something to fill that void. I hope so. But the big thing with this media partnership, Pittsburgh Media Partnership that we have, is a consortium of 36 news agencies in southwestern PA. And the most important thing about this is the fact that it's for fair and accurate reporting. What you hear in the news, just because it's on the news, doesn't necessarily mean it's true, as we know this for a fact. So the PMP, Pittsburgh Media Partnership, is for fair and accurate reporting. That we're holding each other accountable and in there for each other to make sure that what we're giving is true and accurate and out there and correct. I voted the co-chair of this last year, stepping down. But it was important for me, it's important for our community to know that we get the truth out there, that these stories are out there, in fact, true. So very excited, very happy for the next step of the Pittsburgh Media Partnership. They've now hired, they have reporters now that will go out there and start doing stuff, and investigative reporting that's going to happen through the PMP. So very exciting news for that. And I'm very excited about that.
So you mentioned that one of the goals is to keep each other accountable for through reporting.
Right.
Say, hypothetically, somebody does not do that. What happens?
Well, the good thing is that we have a network.
Okay.
Right? That we can call out. We have a network that can call out. So we have an email. We have all these. We reach we want to say that our reach is 6 million, but there's not even 6 million people in Pittsburgh. I don't believe that for a second.
I think it's
but it's a big reach.
It's not a unique,
Right.
Because maybe one IP may.
Right. Subscribe to all 34, right?
That's right. Yeah.
So anyways, we have a huge reach. We feel that we reach the whole Pittsburgh area, that if in case there was something out there that was completely inaccurate, that we can act on that and we can actually do something about it. It's there. It's that emergency response system, right? That goes off. We have that ready to go.
Wonderful.
Which is exciting, which is very good and very protective for a lot of people, regardless of who they are and regardless of the situation. If it's not true, it needs to be, we need to let people know that.
Okay.
And that's what this is doing.
Media is supposed to be not biased.
Correct.
Right? So how can the PMP ensure that they're reporting also not biased? Okay. Considering that, it's been several general elections that it's kind of hard not to be unbiased.
Correct. So you're talking a very, very important issue on when it comes down into journalism or what comes into reporting.
Right.
Right? Because you're just reporting the news, you can be as biased as you want, right? And that's what we're seeing right now. If you're looking at journalistic integrity, then you're looking at presenting both sides, and to the level of how you present yourself and present that is, in fact, the integrity of it all. And that's what the PMP is really trying to hold people accountable for, is that integrity. Because in order to do the news, you've got to give both sides, right? You have to do. You may not agree with the one side, but you at least have to give them the opportunity to speak. Very, very difficult, especially where I'm from, because I'm extremely biased. That's why we're there, right? That's why we're there. Yeah. So it's very difficult for us as QBurgh to kind of navigate those waters, but we do the best we do because you have to do that, and as you can also show how wrong they are in that. So you're giving their side, and it, but we're biased. You're not ever going to get rid of the bias, And that's the one thing good about the Pittsburgh Media Partnership is that they do hold that accountable for everybody to be at least it's the truth. It's what's out there.
Okay.
Does that help?
Yeah.
Does it? Do you think you're biased?
I'm sure.
Yeah, I think we're all biased.
Everybody's biased. I mean, people say that they are not biased. That's not true. You know,
Are you biased against biased people then?
Yes.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah. Because they are biased.
We are biased.
Everybody has
as soon as we are born, we are biased towards something. We are biased towards our mother. We're biased towards our parents, our siblings, and then the circle grows from there, right?
Correct.
That's where the bias is, right? And then when you learn something and then you know about something, it's going to influence you. It's like you said, that the integrity of reporting both sides, that's the hard part. Because if you just use this analogy, a fish can only report about the pond they are in.
Correct.
Right? They cannot see, the elephant in Africa. No, you're living in the Westinghouse pond near Phipps. That's where you live.
Right.
You cannot possibly report about lions in Africa.
Right. My dad gave me the best advice ever. And, my dad was a kind of a interesting character. But he always said that, Jeff, everyone's entitled to their own wrong opinion. And I've always remembered that, right?
I like that.
But it's true, because it is like, I value your opinion. As wrong as it is, it's your opinion. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's
when people say wrong opinion, you actually tell more about yourself. Right. Yeah. You know more about the person.
Right. Right. And hopefully it isn't the wrong opinion you're sharing, but everyone's entitled. Everyone's entitled to doing it. And it's fine. And it works. So I'm always listening, always doing that. Because without knowledge, I think that when we stop listening is the problem. And we stop growing. That's where the problems begin.
Exactly.
Because we are fluid, right?
Yes.
We're fluid. And this whole fluidity journey of life needs knowledge and needs to learn and needs to understand that we as human beings are evolving, right? And we don't want to go back. We don't want to go back, and then we want to move forward. And how can we embrace people and how can we treat people with the dignity and respect that everybody deserves? And that's the world that I'd like to create. And that's the kind of world that I think that we all want to create.
Yes.
People
should be allowed or should also be free to say what they think. Even though how wrong it is, they should be able to say it as long as they do not physically harm. As long as not they physically harm. Right. Because again, we are we're in this media space and we are hungry for knowledge. Right. The more people say about themselves, we should be grateful. Yeah, thank you for saying that such a wrong information.
Right.
So we know more about you.
Right. I just say thank you.
Say thank you.
And I've learned that over the appearance. Because it's tough being a good listener, trying to be a good listener, right? And I have a problem with listening. I'll be the first to admit it, right? But when you do listen, you let people, you're like, okay, thank you. It's worth it. Like it's been a life lesson for me.
All right.
To say thank you for your opinion, and then just move on.
Yeah, and put it in the not to do list.
Right, exactly. So and we're very fortunate to be in the media because we want to help that. We want to help precipitate good behavior in people too, right?
Just at least a good listening skills and be open about it and not to react negatively if you disagree with that opinion. Right.
Yeah. No. Okay.
Yeah. That's why it's a plug for Storyburg event on January 29th. We have this DMZ, demilitarized zone, in which people can share their opinion, their story. It has to be authentic. It should be an experience that they experience themselves. And the listeners are encouraged or also actually required to listen. So,
wow, nice.
So that's our event, January 29th. But
so where do we find this event at? How can we on your web
on the website? And when we get that finalized, it's going to be on the website, on our Facebook, on our Instagram. So
cool.
It's all going to be there.
Good. And I'll selfishly promote QBurgh.
Of course.
QBurgh.com. We have podcast. We have all sorts of fun. We have newsletters that go out every week. We bring the gay to you. We're always looking for ideas or stories, or if there's anything gay, we're in. Right? We're there. So,
all right.
No, I'm excited. I appreciate this.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Jeff.
No,
it's been a great conversation.
How about that? Like I was a little bit, it's hard. It's tough, but I love the direction it went. I appreciate your time. I appreciate Storyburgh. Come out to their wonderful event. Stay tuned to QBurgh for more and fun, exciting things to happen.
All right. Great. Thank you.
Thank you.